Father Simon says, Jez, I have a tale that, by the way, my guess is not forgiven. I have a tale that at this joyous time of year involves the birth of a child. Not just any child, but my firstborn, who was born on Christmas Day, 1997. This story starts almost 24 hours prior to the birth, and this is important as it's where everything all started to go downhill. It's Christmas Eve, it's 7 a.m, and still being childless, I'm fast asleep and have no reason to wake for a good few more hours. Remember those days? Such bliss. However, on this occasion, my slumber was rudely disturbed by my wife, Jenny, waking me with a casual, "My waters have broken, but it's okay, you can go back to sleep as I don't have any contractions or anything." So I went back to sleep. Then Jez says...
What?
No, of course I didn't.
Who does that?
But it does set the tone.
Okay.
I wasn't quite doing the full Corporal Jones thing, but I bolted out of bed, started randomly trying to organise things. Obviously, it was all long since organised. Bags packed and ready, everything that she could possibly need in hospital, prepared and on standby. The morning was spent in a mixture of fake casualness, regular calls to the maternity ward, and trying to eat and stay hydrated to maintain energy, focus and readiness for the exertions to come. I think Jen might have done something as well. Eventually, the contractions came and reached the point where it was time to head in. On arrival, Jen was starting to get a little uncomfortable, but the midwife said she was a long way from being even close, so we could just relax. In her unfailing wisdom, Jen told me to go out and get something to eat, but not to be too long, and indeed to bring it and eat it in the ward. I went to a fast food place and, remembering her exhortations of not being too long, came back with it to eat and share with her. Oh dear. Jenny proceeded to give me a really hard time for A, being ages, I wasn't, and B, callously eating food in front of her when she couldn't even stomach weak tea, such was the pain from her contractions. "But you told me to!" I protested. "Well, you should have known!" She says.
Good, yeah.
My angel of a wife spat back. I took the food away, shoveled down what I could, and returned to an uneasy silence, feeling very hardly done by, I must say.
Yeah.
Time passed and conversations returned as pain and anticipation and excitement soon took over. Hands were held, little heartbeats listened to, comforting words given. Eventually it was time to move from the ward to the delivery rooms. There I had put on tapes of music on the in-room cassette player. All stuff I didn't really like, to be honest, but I did it because I loved her and she was doing something amazing. I love the fact we need to know.
He's so the hero in this,
He doesn't
isn't he?
like the music that he's programmed. Well,
even though I don't like it.
big for you, eh?
Yeah.
The midwife checked her again, declared that this would be an easy birth and it would all be over within next to no time. After next to no time was replaced by soon, which was replaced by, well, this shouldn't take that long. It was becoming clear that the gas and air was patently not strong enough for the increasing pain. A quick discussion and out came the drugs, pethidine or something, I forget which one exactly. After quite a long time, the midwife was joined by another midwife who also declared, oh, this shouldn't be a problem, not long now. Meanwhile, the pain was getting more and more serious. Another examination was to happen, and this time a doctor was brought in. I was unceremoniously bumped out of the room to give them peace and quiet to examine the expectant mother. I think he'd been a bit annoying. This is Jez now, so I took a stroll around the delivery ward. Amongst the various cries and moans and gurgles, I heard the sound of singing. And I followed the tune and found some carol singers. Oh, how strange. They were in the main waiting area of the delivery ward, singing to a few who had gathered there. I asked them if they did requests, and could they come and sing to my wife, who was waiting to deliver. Apparently, of course they could. I gave them the room number.
What?
And shot off.
Shot off?
He shot off.
He's gone. Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Back at the room. He's gone back to the room.
Oh, right. Oh, I see. Okay.
I waited. I held Jenny's hand. I looked at her pained and grey, sweating face, her clenched jaw, her tears. It was heartbreaking, really. And if I could have taken the pain, I would have gladly done so, says Jez, slightly unbelievably. And then, perfectly, this happened. The angelic chorus started up just outside the door. The sweet sound of Away in the Manger. With a strange reverb.
Yeah.
Anyway, it lilted through the doorway, clear, strong and perfect on a Christmas Eve as a woman waits to produce the miracle of life. And this, Father Simon, is where I really do have to prostrate myself and ask humbly, meekly and feebly for forgiveness. You see, Jenny absolutely loathes and detests all Christmas carols. She really, really hates them with a vengeance. But she had woken me up way too early and made me go for food and then gave me a hard time and forced me to listen to some music in the delivery room that I really didn't like. At the sound of the singers, Jen opened her lungs and in the loudest voice I have ever heard her use, yelled something quite Anglo-Saxon that ended with the word off. The singing stopped as if the needle had been smashed from the record. But just in case they started again, she yelled exactly the same Anglo-Saxon phrase again.
Good.
They didn't start.
Oh, no.
And they did indeed go away. I was almost exploding with laughter, Father Simon, got told very firmly that it's not bloomin' funny. Tidied that one up as well. So I quickly clammed up and tried very, very hard not to giggle and give myself away. Eventually, the pain and weight and worry of an overdue birth focused my attention, good, and I went back to being the dutiful and worried husband. Father Simon, the juggernauts of Yuletide justice, understanding festive listeners, I beg forgiveness not from Jen, who, until she hears this, still doesn't know that I set up the choir. Because she did have it coming, to be honest, for all the reasons I've listed in these pages. I also don't seek forgiveness from the choir, who, to be frank, shouldn't be singing in a delivery ward when there are women deranged with pain. But I am sorry for the poor midwife looking after Jen. She was new. We were one of her first since she went solo, and I'm not sure she did many more. Oh, and Jenny finally delivered our wonderful son, Jacob. And we went on to have 3 more amazing children. And although we're no longer together, we are the very best of friends and hopefully still will be.
Bit of a coda there.
A little bit of a final line, which to be honest...
We are no longer together.
Which to be honest, I hadn't actually got to before.
Oh, really?
I thought, I've got the hang of this one.
Fell out quite a lot.
Yes.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. I wonder if your Jolly Japes had something to do with it. Anyway, they're right in the final phrase. Yeah. Anyway. Sister Bobby, what do you say?
Do you know what I was about to say? Jez, are you still married?
No.
Sorry. Of course you're not going to be forgiven, you big idiot. You said she had it coming. No, she didn't. She was in a delivery ward. You know she hated this. How was this ever going to help? And it's just funny from your point of view. It's also not fair on the carol singers. They were doing a great job, out there. I
like the way he turns on the carol singers. Yeah, they shouldn't have been there anyway.
I know, they were singing in the corridor thinking they're doing a good thing, and they must have felt really deflated. So Jez, no. And what can I say to you? You are completely unforgiven. You're a mean-spirited person.
I suspect most people are going to be slightly unforgiving just to the general tone of Jez's cocky email.
Not me. I am definitely going to forgive. And here are the reasons. Number one, I mean, carol singers, that's a nice gesture. I mean, he happened to know that she didn't like carol singers, but she might have had a change of thought. She might have decided, you know what, now I do like carol. Don't they sound wonderful with all that reverb coming through? The reason I love it, though, is for his empty gesture of saying, do you know what, if I could have that pain instead of you, then I'd swap places in an instant.
Pants on fire.
That's not going to happen. So I love it for that alone. So I'm definitely going to forgive.